Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel for the latest installment in our new figure showcase series, where we take a look at the latest release I'm adding back into my collection, and we'll do a quick review and posing session. And I'm really excited about this one, as it's been a piece I've been eyeing for some time, and I did finally manage to pick him up for a deal. And it is the John Rambo figure by Threezero from Rambo First Blood. Like I said, this wasn't a figure that I pre-ordered, and I was just waiting for a deal, and I finally got one and used some points to, at the end of the day, I ended up paying like almost nothing for it. So super happy to finally have this added to the collection. Now, look, I love all the Rambo movies. Maybe not Last Blood. Not that it was atrocious, I didn't hate it as much as other people, but to me it just doesn't compare to the other movies in the series. But those original three, and surprisingly the fourth one in the series, were amazing movies. And that original trilogy really became a symbol of the 80s golden age of action films. But I think First Blood really stands apart a little from the sequels, really focusing on a vet suffering from post-traumatic stress. And even the final scene where Rambo's talking to Colonel Troutman and essentially having his breakdown, it was a powerful moment in that movie. And of course it ends with Rambo being arrested, because make no mistake, he's broken the law and he's waged war against the town's police department. Granted, I think everybody agrees the sheriff kind of deserved it, but he broke the law. So in retrospect, it was definitely different than most of the standard action movies we were getting at that time frame. And look, I love the sequels, but they definitely veered more towards the pure 80s action style. But First Blood was amazing and really cemented John Rambo as one of Stallone's most iconic characters. For me, on par with Rocky. Now, this is actually not the first time we've gotten Rambo. Hot Toys made some figures from the series back in the day, and of course, Threezero released that amazing looking Rambo 3 version, which I mistakenly passed on. That's definitely a regret. I kept waiting for a deal, and then when I was ready to pick him up, he was sold out. But fortunately, I was able to get the First Blood version, and I day one pre-ordered and paid for the Rambo from First Blood Part 2 that Threezero has up for pre-order. So there was no way I was going to miss that one. And going back to Hot Toys quickly, I do own that original Hot Toys John Rambo from Rambo 2. Never unboxed, but I can tell you it's drastically outdated. I'm saving the unboxing of that one for the release of the Threezero version so I can do a full comparison. But there's no denying that these Threezero figures have looked pretty awesome. So let's take a look at what we're getting here from Threezero, and I'll say that it's a really nice package. Besides the figure, you get a bunch of interchangeable hands, and then you get some nicely done weapons, including an older style M16 and the M60 machine gun, and you get his classic knife and a slew of ammo belts for the machine gun as well. And a nice addition here is the makeshift poncho that Rambo makes for himself in the mountains out of a piece of canvas. As well as the makeshift belt he gets. And you also get the spear that he uses to hunt down the boar. A lot of nice accessories. So you can immediately tell there are going to be some nice display options. And of course, since this is Threezero, there are no stands included, which is the norm with them. It does limit you if you're trying to achieve some dynamic poses, but the figure itself feels pretty sturdy. So now let's look at the accessories in more detail, and we'll start with the hands. They actually look really good with a nice paint app on them that also looks a little dirty. Not too much, but just a tad. And of course, you're getting hands designed to hold all of the accessories. The only slight criticism I have here is that I think the hands might be just a tad too big. I don't know if it's just my perception of them, but they look a little big, but decent overall. Now the next piece is the M16, and Threezero did an awesome job on this with the molded buttstock and the guard at the front of the rifle in that nice matte black finish. Detail work on the overall rifle as well is solidly done with some silver dry brushing on the body. It also has a removable magazine and a flip down dust cover over the action, and an articulated charging handle that actually slides back. So overall, a really beautifully done piece. And now the next one is that memorable M60 from the final sequence in the movie. And you'll see this on the figure, but it is a really large piece. And just like the M16, it's stunningly detailed. Paint apps all look great, and there's a lot to like here, with the front of the gun actually having the extendable legs. Now I did try to pop them out, but I wasn't having any luck, so I didn't push it to avoid breaking anything. And then it also has a functional action, and the top of the gun pops up to allow you to feed in the ammo belt. So just a stunning piece overall. Now next up, you have 5 different ammo belts, and they're okay. Close up, they don't look as detailed as some pieces we might get with other companies, but they're serviceable, and you're essentially getting 2 that go around his chest, 2 that wrap around his waist, and then the coiled one that's meant to be fed into the gun and then held in Rambo's hand as he starts firing it. And you can see some slight imperfections on the belts, but that's essentially so that you can drape them over each other, and achieve kind of a nice fit overall. And then you get that makeshift spear as well as his knife. Now the knife looks great even though it's plastic, but it has that distinctive solid edge and the nice serrated edge on the other side with the green handle that we saw in the first movie. And as a nice touch, you can remove the bottom of the knife to reveal the compass within. So really awesome feature. And then the spear's plastic but detailed nice to look like a tree branch with the coil of rope holding the knife in place. So again, nice pieces. And final accessories are the canvas he turns into that poncho that he uses in the mountains when he's running away from the cops. What stands out to me here is the great work that Threezero did with the weathering. I mean, it looks tattered and beat up with a whole slew of stains that you would expect from something left laying around exposed to the elements for years, potentially. And even the edges are all frayed and there's some discoloration, so great job recreating that. So let's move on to the figure itself. And look, I know the Stallone shop released their version as well, like I said. Hot Toys did their figures, but I'm going to look at this one on its own merits, and I don't have the Stallone shop one to compare to. But I have to say, Threezero really impressed me with this one. I mean, first of all, likeness, I think this is spot on, and even the fabric headband looks great, but easily has to be one of Threezero's best sculpts. The paint apps on this one are just incredible, capturing the facial hair stubble and also the dirt and grime from him running around in the wilderness. Paint apps are again just outstanding. Eyes look super realistic too, and the blood on the sides of his face, I think they knocked this out of the park, and it's clearly not the Threezero of old that had some questionable sculpts. They definitely stepped up their game. Hair, it's not bad. It's actually pretty good, just not at the level of, say, Hot Toys molded hair that we've been getting recently. But this is easily, again, one of the best Stallone sculpts I've seen personally. Again, just my opinion. Feel free to disagree, but I'm just impressed. And the figure itself, again, that word impressive pops into mind. The arms are covered in a rubber-like sleeve to hide the joints, so my only worry there is potential issues down the line if I keep the arms bent. But overall, another great-looking piece. Clothing is really well tailored, and you might say it's just a tank top and some jeans, but look at the fit, and more importantly, the weathering. Everything here is dirty, with the tank top having smudges all over the place, and then the jeans getting super dirty as you pan down to look at his boots. It makes for a very lifelike recreation of Rambo from the end of the movie. Even the arms seem to have some subtle paintwork to dirty him up. This to me immediately screams Rambo. I again have to say props to Threezero for the great work here. And fully armed, he looks intimidating, and you can see from the rotating stand that if you have the M60 hanging off his back, it's massive, but all the pieces work well with the figure. And of course the alternate look with the poncho, I'll say this, Threezero provided a nice sheet of instructions and very specific details to recreate that poncho look. And again, looks like a perfect recreation from the movie, and coupled with all the accessories like the knife, the spear, and I didn't actually pose him this way, but if you pose him with the M16, it looks like they took him right out of the movie. I do like that alternate look a lot. I don't usually pick up multiples of the same figure, just too much of my collection to spend money on two of the same, just my collection kind of style, but this all looks definitely makes it tempting to pick up another one just to be able to display him. And of course you have his iconic look from the end of the movie, and Threezero did a nice job making sure that the ammo belts fit well on the body, with two going over the shoulders and two around the waist. Only slight issue I had there was that the belts around the waist are held together via rubber pegs, and if you don't get it exactly right, one of the belts on mine just kept on falling off. Not a biggie, just means that a little patience is required, but those poses with him fully set up with the guns and specifically with the machine gun, very impressive. I'll be honest, very few nitpicks on this one. Like I said, maybe the hands are just a tad big, but this is almost a perfect figure for me, and I am extremely happy that I didn't miss out on him like I did with the Rambo 3 version. Rambo is a character I grew up watching, and before anyone says anything, it was the 80s. I know my friends and I were watching these movies when we probably shouldn't, but they were iconic. And as an adult, going back and watching First Blood in particular, it still holds up remarkably well. So overall, extremely happy to have him in the collection. And as I mentioned before, I already ordered the Rambo 2 version, and I'm super excited to get that one in hand. Hopefully, Threezero continues on with the line. In particular, I'm eyeing Rambo 4. I don't know that they'll do this, but one of the best scenes in that movie was Rambo manning that 50 cal at the end of the movie. I would love to be able to have something like that to show the evolution of him as a character. But I realize that might just be a very ambitious dream on my part. But overall, super impressed with the figure and with Threezero. Let me know your thoughts on this one, and as always, thanks for watching. And if you are enjoying the content, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, and we'll touch base on the next video.